Social media, this invisible magic that has gradually taken over our lives, seems like an old friend who visits us every day and pulls us away from the real world. Perhaps we have never thought about how this virtual world has engulfed us and gradually turned into an uncontrollable addiction. An addiction that many of us have not yet admitted to and are even unaware of how deeply we are immersed in it. It all starts with simple curiosity. One day, seeking to connect with old friends, or perhaps to gain new information, we step into the world of social media. Initially, everything seems harmless and attractive. The sweet moments of seeing friends' photos, reading interesting comments, and receiving instant rewards like likes and comments all encourage us to use more and more. Every like we receive and every comment we leave, it's like a small reward that makes our brain happy with a burst of dopamine. This feeling of pleasure pushes us to repeat these behaviors more and more. Over time, these behaviors turn into habits. We can no longer spend a day without checking social media. Every new notification, every incoming message, all draw us towards our smartphones. Gradually, these habits become a part of our daily routine, and quitting them seems impossible. But have we ever thought about why we do not acknowledge this addiction? Why do we deny that we have become dependent on social media? Perhaps one of the reasons for this denial is the false sense of control that has been created in us. We believe that we have complete control over our use of social media and can reduce our usage whenever we want. But this is just an illusion. Every time we try to reduce the time spent on social media, we face severe mental and psychological resistance. This false sense of control keeps us from accepting the reality. In today's world, social media has become a part of our culture and daily life. The social and cultural pressure to be present and active on these networks forces us to use them more and more. No matter how much we want to distance ourselves from these networks, this social pressure and the need to keep up with others pull us towards them. But this is not the only reason. We often find logical justifications for excessive use of social media. We say it is for connecting with friends and family, for accessing news and information, for professional and career use. These justifications make us ignore our excessive use and accept it as normal behavior. But the truth is more bitter than that. Addiction to social media is accompanied by negative feelings such as guilt and shame. These negative feelings force us to deny and resist accepting the reality. Our mind uses defense mechanisms to protect itself from these unpleasant realities. Denial is one of these mechanisms that prevents us from acknowledging or accepting the reality of our addiction. Using social media is accompanied by the release of dopamine in the brain. This chemical substance creates a sense of pleasure and reward in us. This feeling of pleasure pushes us to repeat these behaviors more and more. Gradually, this feeling of pleasure turns into dependence, and without realizing it, we find ourselves trapped in this addiction. But how can we escape this trap? How can we treat this addiction and return to a more balanced life? Perhaps the first step is to recognize and accept this problem. We need to be honest with ourselves and admit that we've become dependent on social media. We need to set specific and realistic goals to reduce our use of these networks and use time management tools to control our usage. Perhaps disabling notifications and setting specific times for using social media is an effective step. We should seek healthy and useful alternative activities. Exercise, reading, art, and other entertainments can engage us and reduce our need for social media. We need to spend more time with friends and family and strengthen real and face-to-face interactions. If we feel we cannot escape this addiction alone, we should not be ashamed to seek professional help. Counselors and psychologists can provide the necessary guidance and support. We should reevaluate our life priorities and see how the use of social media aligns with our goals and values. By focusing on important life goals and priorities, we can find more motivation to reduce our use of these networks. Social media is like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can lead us to a new world of communications and information, and on the other hand, it can trap youth in an endless addiction. It is up to us how to use this technology. Do we want to be captivated by this invisible magic, or do we want to use it as a useful tool with awareness and prudence? The answer to this question is in our hands.